here, Commissioner Kelly. Look forward to your presentation. So we'll just open it right up and let you go.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here, talk to you guys this afternoon. Rashonda Kelly here with Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner Sam Hubbard, and the Director of Finance and Administration, Jennifer Head, is also here today. We'll tag team this presentation. I'll talk a little bit about the overview of the request, where we were last year, where we are looking forward to this year. Jennifer will talk more behind the numbers, and Sam will talk a little bit about the industry. But you should have in your packet, we have our historical document. It's a snapshot agency at a glance document that should be in the packet. But this deep dive is going to be really what we're talking from today. It's going to give a look back from fiscal year 24. It's going to outline the comparison. It's going to give a request for the fiscal year 25. We also, I think we included a copy of our annual report, as well as a utilization chart for how we have used our PINs over the past fiscal year. So Sam's going to talk more about the industry, as I mentioned earlier, but I do want to highlight the goal of our agency, and it is to charter Mississippi state chartered banks and license all non-bank finance companies in industries in Mississippi. 87% of all of banks chartered in Mississippi are chartered with our agency. Cadence, Renaissance, and Hancock Whitney Bank are the largest. We charter, examine, and ensure the safe, sound operations of these banks. We license approximately 8,400 non-bank companies that we mortgage companies, consumer finance, title pledge, check cash or payday, Tower Loan, Rocket Mortgage, Advance America, Title Cash. Those are some of the bigger names, more prominent footprint in our state. We license, examine, and ensure the safe and sound operations of these companies as well. As a former examiner, I consider this role and what we do, our mission, very seriously. As commissioner, I also have to ensure that we are operating fiscally responsible. We are a special fund agency, and we are funded through bank assessments and licensing fees and exam fees, but I also understand the transparency and the understanding that you need to have for our agency operations and our budget request. So I do hope that this conversation can answer any of your questions and provide any insight that you need with our past year, as well as our year going forward. So getting right into the leave behind document, the fiscal year 24 look back. What we've done since the last year is we looked at our needs assessment and how we determine our staffing. We've reevaluated our methodology to determine actual staffing. We now include a supervisory factor. How complex are the banks that we're looking at? What is the condition overall of these banks? Projected bank consolidation and growth. We look at the number of bank charters as well. In 2014, we had 66 bank charters. Now we have 54 state chartered banks. We've lost 12 charters in 10 years, and that's through consolidation, banks collapsing into a single charter. The assets have grown in that same period of time from 61 billion to 148 billion. So we've more than doubled in asset size, but we've shrank the number of charters. So we have bigger, more complex institutions that we're supervising. So we do focus some of our recruitment efforts on the complexity around those assets. We have focused on some operational improvements. When we were here last year, the operation of the agency, I don't think were as strong as they are now. We've integrated some systems, our database, we've streamlined some operations, and Jennifer will talk more about that when she gets to her segment in the presentation. We are consistently trying to combat the rising DFA reimbursement increases as far as mileage and meals. We've worked really hard around our travel policy to try to combat some of those expenses. And we have also ramped up our staffing efforts. And this, one of the things we've done to try to keep ourselves honest is use this utilization comparison chart. We're looking at our PINs, how we're using our PINs, how effectively we're using our PINs, and we're giving ourselves a measure. Right now, our goal is to fill a majority of these PINs by the end of this fiscal year. 94% is what we've improved our efficiency ratio and how many PINs we have and what we have proposed to fill by the end of this fiscal year. I would like to fill every PIN we have. We have ramped up our hiring efforts. We're going to career fairs. We are going to career expos. We have become more active on LinkedIn to try to attract staff. Before COVID, people would come to us for jobs. Now we have to go search for people for these jobs because the market is totally different. So we had to readjust our efforts in attracting staff. I will also add, going for fiscal year 25, we are requesting 6 positions. We're requesting 4 positions for banking. And again, that's due to the growth in assets and anticipated growth going forward and the complexity of these assets. We are requesting 1 PN for the consumer finance industry. Last year, there was a bill passed by the motor vehicle sales finance industry that allowed those licensees to work from home. There is no framework for IT or cyber examinations on this side of the house on consumer finance. It's never been built out. And to accommodate that passage of legislation in 2023, we would like to get 1 position for that change in legislation. The second supplemental request that you see in your fold out is a PN for mortgage division. Rocket Mortgage, who is one of our bigger licensees for mortgage, is going to drop some legislation requesting something similar to what motor vehicle sales finance did last year, the ability for their licensees to work from home. Again, the mortgage industry, our framework has not built out the cyber and IT function to accommodate that staffing. So we would request 1 examiner for that change and potential change in legislation. So with that, I will pause, ask if anyone has any questions about what I've said thus far from last year, look back, and what I've outlined as a fiscal year 25 request for staffing, because Jennifer's going to pick up with the travel and other expenses.
Let me ask one question.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Hancock, Renaissance,
Cadence. Cadence Bank is our largest.
And there's another big bank that is discussing or will.
Yes, sir.
Come into the system.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you talk?
Yeah, I know that this was in a public notice. Trustmark has expressed interest in becoming a state chartered bank. They're right now a national bank, but with a potential conversion to a state chartered bank, we have another bank under our purview to look at. And I think right now, Trustmark is actually the 3rd largest bank. Renaissance is the 4th largest bank, but they're in our top 3 because they're state chartered. So if they were to come in, if Trustmark were to come in under our purview, we would have those assets, which are about 18 billion, to consider for examinations for IT, trust, BSA, and other types of safety and soundness staffing. So we would have to consider that. And that's part of the accommodation of the request for the 2025. Okay, all right, Jennifer.
Thank you. As Rashonda said, I'll talk a little bit more in detail about our requests for the rest of the expense categories. Our travel expense item, we do anticipate more traveling for our staff. This also incorporates inflation rates. The mileage rate have gone up twice in the last year. So we're including increase for that, airline travel, and hotel inflation. Contractual expenses, we did obtain renew our lease for our office space, but we were able to also get some additional lease space. We have renovated our current office as much as we can renovate it and to accommodate people coming in from the field, having external meetings, staff coming in. So we have come into 1,000 additional square feet for that. So that's included in our contractual expense request. We also are, as Commissioner Kelly mentioned, streamlining some of our processes. When I came on board, I saw that we needed to incorporate a more streamlined approach to our purchasing and our travel. We are able to do some of that with internal in-house staff, but we really need to build out that process, getting away from all the paper and sending things electronically, having some approval levels built into that. So our contractual expense does include a little bit of that, but also for IT services for new wiring, sound, and presentation needs into the new rental space, but also our existing training area. Then for commodity expenses, we have been pretty conservative on our commodity expenses, but we are requesting an increase. This would be one of those one-time expenses to add additional furniture and training needs for our new office space, and also updating some of our training room needs. This would also include office items, supply items that are below the equipment threshold for IT or just everyday office needs. Capital outlay, again, this is another one-time expense item for additional furniture and fixtures in the new rental space to complete building that out. And I do want to just mention that we continue as a special fund agency. We are funded through assessments from our banks, but also on the non-bank side, we are funded through license fees, reinstatement fees, and exam fees for the mortgage and consumer finance industries. And does anybody have any questions about those items? Okay, I'll pass that off to.
I have some questions.
Okay, yes, sir.
Your increased square footage, that will bring you to how many square feet?
Almost 15,000, 14,000, some
You're getting an additional.
1,000 square feet.
That's not much square foot.
It's
what
not.
you got.
It's not, and the need was to have a space to bring in external visitors. We really, without going through a lot of office space in our current office, we really didn't have a place to meet with them, whether it's a bank board or clients, and or even, you know, non-bank side. They have visitors that come in all the time as well. So it was really to have a space dedicated to that, but that we could also use as additional space as needed within our own divisions.
And your new lease that you're getting and the additional square footage, what's the increase in the rental agreement?
I will have to go back and look at that. It's about $2 a square foot, I believe.
Which will be how many total dollars? Do the math. I can't do.
15. I
Can't
can't
remember the numbers
remember.
off the top of my
We
head.
looked at it. It's been several months now. I will get that number back to you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Appreciate that.
Mhm.
Any other questions regarding this? Okay.
So I'm Sam Hubbard. I'm the deputy commissioner. And one thing I want to let you know, just kind of where we stand as the industry and what's going on with the Department of Banking. Over the last, really, we've just grown constantly, and I've been on for a long time, and we continue to grow, which is really, I think, says a lot about Mississippi and the banking in Mississippi. We have excellent bankers, and we're real proud of our bankers, and we know them very well. We work very close with them, and we know them very well. We have 56 state chartered banks, and of that, we have $148 billion, which ranks us as 14th in the country, which puts us ahead of a lot of large states. You know, we really, states like Florida, we have more assets. We have more assets than a lot of that are domiciled in this, so that we're headquartered in Mississippi, and we're real proud of that. What it does as we keep growing is it adds some complexity to what we do. It adds, and not just that, the regulatory world. And I think everybody in this room knows that the regulatory world tends to, whether it's the feds, it's really the feds who do a lot of it. They add laws and they add certain things, whether it's trust that we do a specialty, whether it's Bank Secrecy Act, BSA, which has become very complex. And I think anybody in the world knows how complex IT has become. It's just, and some of those Rashonda and I will be frustrated in, because it just adds so much to banking, where sometimes we think it should be, BSA might fall back on, we have to regulate, fall back on the police more, but the banks have to regulate. It's very expensive for banks, but it's also expensive for us. We have to hire examiners to do these specialties, and they're not easy to find. I think we have 4 BSA examiners, and we would like to hire more. Trust is very difficult to find. And so those are complexities that we work with as we're trying to hire. But I will say this, I'm real proud of the staff we have, and we do our job very well. We also have about 8,000 non-bank people that we regulate, or licensees that we regulate, which means that we make sure that they're licensed. We make sure they're doing everything correct. It's not as complex as a bank exam, but but from that, what we're seeing from our staff is we're seeing, as you mentioned, or you asked about Trustmark. Well, we're not asking for Trustmark this year. We know that could come on, and it could be a large bank, which we have 3 of right now. We also have the first down in Hattiesburg, which is right at 10 billion. 10 billion is the threshold that makes it a large bank. We have Bank Plus is a large bank coming up. We have just some large banks in Mississippi, but as it becomes a large bank, $10 million, we have to have full-time examiners, experienced examiners. And that is not an easy process. It's a process that we take it on, and it's always where our next examiner is going to be. What are they going to do? And with Trustmark would add another 3 examiners full-time at Trustmark. And that would be, we don't have to do some of the smaller banks. So Renaissance, we probably can get away with 2. And so I think with Tupelo, we have 5 examiners that do the 3 banks right now full-time, but we would like to have 6 full-time there. But all in all, things have gone very good for the Department of Banking. It's been very good for the state of Mississippi. Banking is a very good industry in Mississippi, and some people don't realize how big it is in Mississippi and how well it's done. So from that's just a general overview of kind of where the industry is. But what I'd like is for y'all to just ask any questions that you have about banking in general, any laws that are coming up with banking, or any questions you have for us.
I'd like to know how the medical cannabis program has impacted you.
Do you want me to take it? We talk about this a lot. It's interesting to us.
So BSA, Bank Secrecy Act, or now counterfeiting the finance of terrorism, is an area of the bank where we would focus on this high risk activity. It's deemed high risk inherently. Bank boards are responsible for the direction of the bank, and they decide if that is an activity that they want to assume. So if a bank is going to engage in this activity, the bank board has to decide that that's the activity they want to engage in, because there is a framework of risk that the bank has to consider and build out. People, resources, systems to test those deposits coming into their institution to make sure that those deposits are not related to any illegal, illicit activity. So there are cost considerations, there are operational considerations. Even what does the money go once it comes into the bank, because the money smells. So there are a lot of even physical considerations that banks have to consider with that. Right now, we have, in the last 2 years, we've been talking to the industry about what the expectations would be from regulators for banks that were engaged in this. We don't have many banks that have expressed a big appetite. We have, I know one we know that has laid out the framework, and it's very expensive to do this. So right now, a majority of our banks are not engaging in this activity on the state charter level. Many have talked about it, many boards have discussed it, but not many are actually actively engaging right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have one little comment that whenever there's a new prospective bank looking at coming, could you let them know that DeSoto County is more than willing to have a headquarters?
We had DeSoto County Bank at one time.
DeSoto County Bank and First Commercial bought it.
Yeah.
At one time.
One time. Absolutely. You can always branch there, though.
We support that too. We're with you.
How many field positions do y'all have right now?
71.
71.
We were expecting that question. So we discussed it.
Okay. And then out of the $913,000 increase, how much of that is for, you'll have a breakdown of how much of it is for progressions, how much of it is for benchmarks?
Only 23%, I think, is for salary increases. The rest is for new positions.
Okay.
And I think two, the 211,000, we talked about this too.
Right. So 211,000 of it is for progression. 87, almost 88,000 of it is for title changes. And then 614 is the head count increase that we're asking for.
How many people do y'all have on recruitment right now? So I was just looking at the SPB's website and y'all have some compliance dollars still there to hire people. So how many people are y'all going to hire or planning to hire?
For the remainder of the fiscal year, I want to hire everybody. I want to hire
Okay.
10 more people, right? Because we have 81 positions vacant, positions open, 10 vacancies. We were at a career fair yesterday at Southern. We have another one scheduled at Mississippi State, another one scheduled at Ole Miss. So we are going to the career fairs. And I talked to the banking recruiter on the way out the door for Monday. He said he has 9 applications that he's looking at for examiners. So we have some in the pipe. I even asked him a minute ago, we have one that's pending his approval and we're waiting on a background check. So we're constantly trying to move these people into the agency as far as new staff, but we hope to hire everybody.
And then my last question was, out of the contractuals, commodities and capital, I know some of that was one time and some of it was reoccurring. So could y'all just get how much is one time and how much is reoccurring?
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One question that I wanted to follow up on, Jennifer, in your response to Corbin. You said in title changes. What do you mean by that?
That it would be eligible for a promotion or from going from an examiner, their training and
right.
certifications, moving up to the next level.
So from an
With,
examiner.
right,
one
to examiner 2. But wouldn't they be automatically be eligible under the standards? They move up. You just need the funds for that. Are they meeting the standard, or do you just want to bump them up because you like the work they're doing?
Do you want?
All movements are merit-based. So if there's a career track for every examiner, and there are benchmarks and there's a time of on-the-job training that's required before they can actually advance to the next level.
Okay.
And so when I walked through one of the training tracks with the banking director of the day, she outlined that this fiscal year, this person is eligible for this much. I think with SEC squared, you can get up to 10% per year, but that is based on a merit factor. That's not, they don't just get money.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm getting to, I want to be clear, based on SEC 2, you've got to meet certain standards.
Absolutely.
That was, I'm just, there's no secret amongst those that look at the budget. You can't just move. That's what people
No.
did wrong. You
No,
can't
no,
move somebody because you want to move them because
No,
you like
no, sir.
them. They've got to meet 5 years of eligibility,
So-
3 years or
so-
10 years.
So we had standards
Or-
before SEC
or-
squared, and we overlaid that with
Do
SEC.
your standards comply with what SEC squared?
Our standards exceed SEC squared because we base them on.
So they would get the raise automatically. They would fall in, if I'm hearing you correctly, if, Joe or Sue, they've met the standards.
Mhm.
So you just need the money to pay them.
Let me
Right,
give you an
right.
example though. So to move up, for instance, you have to get certified as a bank, certified examiner in charge, for instance, but you also have to be in charge of so many, this is just one area, so many banks. You have to do so many, the career ladder requires so many things. And there's a potential, if everything's done, to have an early promotion of 6 months. That can be changed, sometimes 3 months, but no more than 6 months, which gives some merit based, not that they just do it, but they're doing a really good job. We can early.
Well, the merit base, and maybe I need to look at yours a little bit more carefully again. The merit base ought to be, that's where if you take your progression money and be able to bump them up because they're doing a good job. And the experience base, I don't want to get back into the problem we have with so many agencies is because I like Joe or Sue and I want to give them an advancement because they seem to be doing a good job. So we're just going to move them from examiner 1 to examiner 2, even though they've only been there a year, or
No, sir.
examiner
No,
2 to
sir.
examiner 4 because we like them.
No,
So in our headcount increase, we have 2 people that we want to
That
move
you want to, or they qualify? I guess that's what
that will qualify, that will
that will
qualify.
qualify.
Yes. I'm sorry, 3 people that are moving from bank examiner 3 to a team lead. So
Okay.
between that time, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 years of experience. So they have, and this is SEC squared compared to what we used to have.
Mhm.
So we've got all of that conversion from where we used to be on our career ladder and converted that to SEC squared.
Okay.
So there's that timeline that they have to accomplish the next item. You know, it's not just.
We can send you
We're
an
gonna bump
example of
you
our
up.
career tracks to
Okay.
show exactly where everybody goes and when they get a
And so
raise.
I'll say this, I like all my staff, but they don't get money because I like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they have to be good enough to go into that bank, accurately assess the condition of the institution, and reflect that in the report of condition, the report of examination. We get nowhere with examiners that are rocks. So they have to actually approve themselves both on the job and at their schools, because after schools, they get assessed by the instructor, it comes back to us. We have held back promotions and progressions because they have not met the expectations
We
in
also
their
have to
track.
justify with the personnel board on everyone.
Okay.
It's
Share this with
the
them.
work we do with the
Yeah.
personnel
We'll
board.
provide, anything you need, we'll provide you.
I'll be glad to share
Give
this.
it to the subcommittee chair too, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Carr?
Just one question, I'm sorry, it's on that same line. Of your vacancies that you currently have, how many of those vacancies are examiners?
Could you count back from the non-examiner ones? Because I can help with,
Or a
do
non-examiner.
the-
and
Or-
admin.
you
admin.
include the mortgage one? So seven, six banks.
6 banking.
Okay, 6 banking and 4 non-examiner.
Non-bank.
Yeah, yeah. Non-examiner. 6 examiner, and 4 non-examiner. Okay.
All right, just a couple other questions. If I look at the historical trends and utilization on your pins chart, what you're telling us is that you are confident that because of the way you are now handling your pins and training, that you think you will have a 99% retention rate. And you'll be able to get to that number of within one of your requested bins.
Utilization rate.
Yeah.
Yes, that's my goal. And I think right now, the 94% utilization is based on using 76 pins, 76 of the 81 pins. But I
Mhm.
want to get higher than the 94 utilization.
But you've never been close to that.
We also haven't tried as hard.
So you have a high expectation.
I do have high expectations.
Okay.
I think we have not had the efforts we've had in place now, being we have now, we have not recruited historically as aggressively as we have. We've not posted jobs to on LinkedIn as aggressively as we have. I also think we have, and Jennifer's been very, very good at monitoring where we are in the compliance, where we are with our vacancies, what we need to fill, do we need that position? So we'll try to keep ourselves accountable, and I don't think we've been that reflective in the past. on
Okay.
what we're doing.
And the divisions know that. You know,
Yeah.
Commissioner Kelly has been very adamant to them that, you know, kind of like y'all, if y'all don't need it, you're gonna lose it.
Yeah,
So we have,
I've told them that if you don't use it, somebody else will.
Okay.
I'm not keeping your position. So if banking doesn't fill all positions, consumer can have it. So I'm kind of making them compete against each other.
And my last question is, what is your fund balance right now? You're in the bank monies that have not been appropriated,
cash balance,
cash balance.
about 3.5 million.
Okay, all right. Did I see your hands on here? Okay. Anyone else? All right. Thank you. We appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Thanks.
Senator Hobson, do you want me to send that to Christie or just get it back to Corbin and Tina? Okay,